to north to be south to be north. Where I'm from, Virginia, of course. To south to be north to be south. What it's like. Hey yo, it is what it is. Yeah, hey yo, what it is what it is. It couldn't be nothing else. We brought down place off the satellite.
Hey, is this Bill?
Yeah, it is. How are you?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm good. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you. How are things in California?
Oh, nice and sunny. You know,
Yeah.
we have our election today.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting stuff. Be following that tonight. Hoping for the best.
Yeah, yeah.
Expecting the worst.
Yeah.
Where are you? Are you back in Virginia?
I'm at home. I'm in I live in DC.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm home from work.
Where in DC are you now?
Mount Pleasant. You know Mount Pleasant, near the zoo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually know it pretty well because my mom worked as a building manager for a building in Woodley Park.
Oh wow.
So it was kind of close to there. And then
Yeah.
I had a job. My first job was I worked at this record store in DC or really the Maryland border, like in Bethesda. It was called Arnold's Disc Shop.
Huh.
My dad knew the guy that ran it. It was in Mazda Galleries there.
Mm.
And so then every day I would take the metro from there to Woodley Park, and then I would walk up to my mom's building to ride home with her. So
That's great, though. I feel like I've heard of Arnold's Disc, but it's not there anymore, huh?
I can't imagine it is. I haven't been
Yeah.
back there in a long time. And
I feel like I've heard that name before.
It wasn't necessarily like a cool record shop or anything like that, you know.
Yeah.
But that was the summer, I believe, the summer of '92. So that was a good summer for working in a record store. You know that.
By the '90s, any store was kind of cool that they were surviving at that point.
Well, I remember stocking a lot of, Chili Peppers and Nirvana and Pearl Jam albums and Frank Black and
I worked at Record World in Fair Oaks Mall in from '86 to '89 or something like that.
Huh. I was more of a Tower Records guy when it came to at least like Fair Oaks.
Yeah.
I remember.
That's what I'm saying. I worked in the uncoolest part of the record store world. That's how I got my start.
Yeah, but you also worked at the coolest of all the record stores as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
And that,
Record Convergence.
And that was Record Convergence.
Yeah.
And
that was the major leagues for me.
Yeah, I remember you. I remember you behind the counter there, and you sold me a lot of stuff over the years. I mean, you probably don't remember me as this like fat nerdy jockey kid, but
well, I was a fat nerdy kid, so I understand the whole thing. I mean, I went in there for years before I worked there, and and I still do it. I actually still work at Smash sometimes. That's kind of a funny thing to me.
Wow, still working in the record store.
Oh yeah, I'm Smash's longest lasting employee, I think, at this point. I worked there since like '98. But I mean, I only fill in once in a while now. It's not like I work there full time, but I like to stay in record stores. They're important to me.
So you are the Ted essentially now? Is
Well, I'm not the owner. Ted owned the place.
I know, but you're the old guy, or the quote unquote like old guy at the record store now.
I guess so. I am the oldest. Even I'm older than the owner. It's kind of funny. Although we're approximately the same age.
So, what wisdom have you gleaned about working in record stores from having worked in them for so many years?
Oh, geez, I don't know. Anything I say would sound cliche, probably.
Well, you know,
they're important. They're important.
Okay, why are they important now? I will play devil's advocate a little bit because
that's fun.
I used to be obsessed with record stores, and they were extremely important in my life. And now
I get you. Anything I say is just going to make me sound old. But.
and now I barely do it anymore. So why should I still be spending my hours in the record store?
Well, you shouldn't if you don't want to. I mean, you shouldn't do anything you don't want to do. I thrive on the visceral, activity of shopping like that. So, I think it's important, but it may not be important to anybody else. I'm glad they're around so I can go.
I find something zen about it.
Yeah.
And even the one that I tend to go to here in LA is Amoeba.
Oh yeah, I like that place.
And there's something to be said when you're standing like on the top floor, the second floor, and you're looking down, and you're just watching and listening, and you hear the clicks.
Yeah.
You can hear the clicks of all the people flipping through the plastic like CDs.
Yeah.
And there's something super zen about that. There's also something about it's funny, I was reading your book last night or the night before, The League, and and I was reading the part in the record store. I believe it's Apple Corps Records.
Yeah.
And the main character Martin is narrating about his process of going through the record store and going through the new arrivals first and flipping through the new arrivals and then going through the M through Z bins.
Yeah.
And not the individual artist, but kind of the mapping for each one. And it's so funny how it's very similar to my process of going through a record store too. And I wonder how many people like have that process of doing it that way. And
I bet everybody has their process, I'm sure.
But it was just amazing to connect to somebody who had that same thing, like to psychically, be reading this and go, oh my God, somebody else does that too.
I think you can tell a lot about a record store by going through the M's.
There are certainly a lot of M bands out there.
Yeah, there are. Or S's. You can do the same with the S's.
Yeah, but it's funny how you were like that the A through L doesn't change as frequently, so you want to immediately jump to the M's because that you're more likely to see different stuff in those ones.
Yeah, there's not as many A bands, I don't think.
When did you start working at Convergence, and how did that come about?
Gosh, I don't. I mean, it was early '90s. I feel like I worked there for 5 or 6 years or so. But I mean, I got the job just because I went in so often. You know, I mean, I don't know why they considered me necessarily, but yeah, it was really just kind of being a fixture there.
Did they suggest it to you, or they just like, kid, you're here often enough? Like,
I always told them. I said, you know, if you ever need any kind of help, like I would like to be a part of this. You know. So eventually, I guess I just came to mind. I had a little bit of experience at the mall. I don't know if that played into it, but you know.
Was that a place where you were able to connect to a lot of other musicians through working there? Was that helpful in meeting people?
Oh yeah, well, musicians are just friends. Like my whole social life revolved around, you know, my job. Still does in some ways. Most people who I still talk to or people that shop there or at Smash, you know. Smash was a big part of my life too. I worked at both for a while.
Did you grew up in Virginia though, right?
I graduated high school in Virginia. My parents moved a lot as a child, so my senior year I moved to Virginia. And went to Oakton. And I guess that was about maybe halfway through my junior year. And when I graduated, they moved again, and I just kind of stayed. So I lived in Virginia for a while. I lived in D.C. for a while. That sort of thing. You know, at that age, you move around a lot. I did that. But I was in this area all that time.
How did you feel about going to Oakton?
I never liked high school in any capacity, so one high school was the same as another to me. Actually, it's funny. I always remember this. I tell people this a lot. I went to 5 different high schools. So I don't know. It was all just kind of what I was supposed to be doing to me. I don't have very fond memories of high school.
Well, there are some great musicians that came through Oakton. That's part of why I ask. And I didn't. I went to South Lakes myself, and there are. I didn't really meet people from Oakton until maybe my junior year, and then I kind of became friends and with several people from there, and it opened up this whole other scene to me. And I actually didn't start playing in a band until I met a guy from Oakton, a guitarist, and that's when I started my first high school band.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he introduced me to a ton of people from there. So it's just and Charlie, whom I interviewed the other day, and who was your bandmate, also went there too.
Yeah. I was a year behind Charlie.
I actually remember. I have vague memories of skipping school with this other guy from Oakton, and we would meet up at Friendly's, and then seeing Charlie there, just like smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee.
Yeah.
Mostly by himself and writing.
Yeah.
And just and my friend like whispering to me at one point, like, "Hey, do you know who that guy is? That's Charlie Pose."
That's funny. Yeah, well, that's good. He's a freak.
Most of us from there, and most of us who are this heavily involved in music are.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. That's why I haven't thought much about this interview. I was trying to remember where I first met him. I didn't know what kind of questions you were going to ask me about him. I mean, he was impressive to me. And, we're about the same age, so there was something about him.
Well, do you remember, were you in any other bands before you were in Ugly, or was that your first band?
It's funny you bring this up. Really no. I mean, the hard answer to that question is no. I was very keen, and I wanted to, and back then I used to look at things like talking about being old. Pre-internet, you would go to like record stores or like music stores, and that people would put flyers up. I used to go on a lot of auditions, like maybe in high school and after, and I was late really to be in a band that took things very seriously. I may have already been in, my early 20s at that point, if I'm thinking about it right. Yeah, like the 90s. But the funny thing that just came up a while ago that really blew my mind is I did play in one band before him that we used to practice all the time. We never even played a show. But it was the only like good experience up to meeting Charlie that I had musically was this guy wanted to make a demo, and he was like, I'd really like to go to that Inner Ear Studios and do it, even though that seems a little extreme because there was a lot of awe around Inner Ear. So we went to Inner Ear and made this demo, and nothing ever happened with the band. They went on without me for a while. I quit for some reason, and they ended up pressing this demo, and it was just kind of basic thrash metal, but I actually liked it. And a couple of years ago, somebody had knew that demo. I don't know how they knew it, but it was just funny that I happened to be on this demo. Somebody brought up like 20 years later or whatever. But that was the closest thing to a real band I had been in. But
what was the band called?
It was called Recalcitrance.
And what's the demo in case anybody can ever find a copy of this?
I don't know what the demo was called. I was very not the creative end of this band. This was one of those bands I got off the wall at a music store, and I played bass for them for a while. They were really nice guys. One of them is the guitar player for The Deceased. You know that band? Mm-hmm. That's how that demo thing came up now. Actually, I saw The Deceased play a while ago, and he had told me that this guy in the room had remembered that demo. That's why I was trying to remember how I even heard about it. And, I just talked to the guy. We had a laugh about it because he's like, I really liked that demo I listened to. And I was like, well, I played it. I didn't have anything to do. I didn't write anything on it or anything. I was just a bass player. But I don't know. It was just kind of funny. You just never know what people are picking up on.
What was it like recording at Inner Ear?
It was cool. That was the very first kind of real band experience I had. But it was a thrill to meet Don Zientara. I mean, he's a very nice guy. He produced a lot of the hardcore records that I liked. So that was a trip for me.
Was that early on when it was in Don's basement, or?
I don't think so. I honestly can't remember, but I doubt it. I seem to remember going somewhere that wasn't a house. I believe I didn't even I never processed any of that. Like, what I mean? Like, they were just like, okay, we're gonna record it in our ear, and we went to where it was, recorded it. I don't think I remember enough about it.
So you played several different instruments, right? I mean,
I mean, I play several instruments poorly.
You played bass for
yeah, I played bass primarily. All the bands I auditioned for, or whatever you want to call it, tried to get together. It was just me playing bass.
But you also, during your time in Ugly, you were playing percussion too.
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing in that band. Yeah, I did do that.
When did you start playing music? When did you get your?
When he asked me to do that.
No. I mean, when, like, literally, when do you remember, like, getting your first instrument or starting to play?
As a teenager, like, as a young teenager, everybody I knew wanted to be a guitar player, and in line with my normal work ethic, I just figured it would be easier to learn the bass.
Okay, so you started on bass. You didn't start on guitar.
I think I took guitar lessons, or that turned into bass lessons. I mean, we're talking about when I was like 12 or something. Like you'd go to the music store and after school, and I don't know if people still do that.
They better do that.
Yeah, a guy teaches you how to play guitar. I feel like kids. I don't know. Nowadays, kids seem to be bored knowing how to play.
I mean, I guess you can go on YouTube now.
You can go on YouTube and look. Yeah.
That's another thing you can do, but I don't know.
When I was a kid, a guy with a mullet taught you how to play guitar, and you gave him $10 or something. Your mom wrote a check. It was something to do on Thursdays after school.
Yeah. Well, with me, unfortunately, it wasn't a guy with a mullet. It was like my only guitar lessons were with this like folk guitar player. And it was like in the back of this church in Hunters Woods Shopping Center.
Wow.
And and I actually only took guitar lessons for maybe like 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
The rest of it was either Mike Tarr teaching me, when we were playing in that band together in high school, which is called Blotter Otter. Or, it was all self-taught, just knowing like some chords and figuring it out from there. There wasn't any YouTube. Although I did take piano lessons for a good amount of years, but I was, it was mostly trying to play like classical music, and I had no real interest in playing classical music. Yeah. So I'd be like, I want to learn the theme from Cheers.
Yeah, right.
Because, what I knew was television.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, getting back to Ugly. So how did you go from the recalcitrant experience to then Ugly? Was it you met Charlie and he was already playing with some guys and he was like, we could use a conga player? Or
yeah, well, it was basically that. Yeah, I mean, by that time he was playing in the band, we were closer friends, and I hung around a lot. He knew about me, always trying to start a band or something, and we were always talking about trying to do something together, different, than the kinds of things he normally does. And then he did have, he had varying parts, kind of versions of bands that he played with. And at one point he did play with a guy that played with a couple of congas, and so he had this new kind of trio together. And I can't remember how we decided that I would be able to do that, but I just started sitting in like that. So then, you're talking about Ugly as I guess as a band. That's kind of how that lineup became a band.
But you yourself, in terms of Ugly, you don't think of that as like a band that you were in? You think of that more as like Charlie Post and Ugly, or?
I don't know. Yeah, we reached a point where we had a lineup and we played as that lineup over and over again, And the idea at that point was kind of, verbally said, like, okay, we're a band now. Let's try to, maybe still, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, we kind of became a band, But I always kind of think of it as, like you said, as Charlie Post and Ugly, because we didn't write. It really was all about him, even though it was just, we were a band. Not in a rude way, but it's just, he was kind of the creative force. And I think I don't know if having a regular group filled that hole for him or not. I don't know if it did. I have to ask him, but you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I do.
I'll tell you a funny thing is I remembered this when I remembered so many weird things since you brought up the idea of talking about it. And I might have this wrong, but like one of the first times I think Charlie and I really connected, I saw him play at DC Space with an upright bass player and this very minimal drummer. And it was the biggest crowd I'd ever seen him have, having seen him a couple of times and not knowing him that very well or whatever. And, I always remember that as like the best time I ever saw him play. Like it was, he was very much himself, but he had this good sort of minimal backup band, and it was a really good show that he did. That may have been sort of the synthesis of him wanting to start. Maybe he just thought, well, I just need other people behind me to make make music work a little better, other than just stand up here with a guitar. I don't know what it takes to do that.
Well,
that DC Space show was real cool. And,
it does seem to be different, a different kind of music than you yourself seem to make when you're the creative force behind the band, or one of the more prominent creative forces in the band. I don't mean to just be talking about Ugly, because I know you've done a ton of creative shit, and I want to get to all of it if we can. It'll be hard to get to it in a limited amount of time, but it does seem to me that Ugly was a different kind of music for you.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. I've always been pretty open musically. I don't know. This is going back too far, but I liked things as a teenager that I didn't perceive my peers liking. I don't know if I'm proud of. I can say that proudly now. I don't know if I was proud of it at the time, but like, I don't know. I listened to like jazz and blues and country music, as a preteen.
So after Ugly, actually, let's not go to After Ugly just yet, because I am really curious. I didn't really ask Charlie much about recording those albums, and particularly my favorite album of yours, which is Round Boy Laughing.
Mm-hmm.
I love that album.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorites of all time. So, what are your favorite songs off there, and what are your memories from recording that?
Well, yeah, it was just a long time ago. We recorded them out in Virginia. This guy had this really cool little studio called Stillness, and I don't remember. It was in this guy's house, and he was real nice. We used to have fun with him. Like, we would record there, and and stay over, and hang out and stuff. It was kind of a fun. If I recall, that we stayed out there a lot. I don't remember how long we spent recording that. It's a long CD, isn't it? It's got a lot of stuff on it.
Yeah, it's got like 22 songs on it or something.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that was probably a lot of work.
Do you have any favorites, or do you have is there anything that stands out to you now in terms of, like, if you were going to talk about like your greatest hits of songs that you've been a part of, would anything from there be on it?
I mean, it's hard to think of it in those terms, because I still think of that as, like, all those songs are kind of his, like, I like to think more about perceiving him and that music more than thinking about that album. I haven't thought about it in a while, the record, the album itself. I guess thinking about how many songs are on it, we might should have just concentrated on fewer songs or something and made it better. But I don't know how it sounds these days. But we definitely blew through a lot of his material on that CD. I don't know where he has it.
There's some great percussion, man. There's some great conga playing on there. It would not be, what it is without you playing on it.
I don't know, the conga stuff was, I think we were trying to do, some more upbeat of his songs, like, again, just trying to keep people's attention live.
Were your percussion, having lived in DC, do you think you were influenced by, like, DC percussion? Were you influenced by DC go-go?
Yeah, totally. I love that. I love that was like something that was part of the city. I loved, I was never, in anything, involved in anything like that. But I still very proud of go-go, like listening to it. Not proud of it. That's a bad way to say it. You know what I'm getting at, though. Like, I love that. That's part of the identity of this city. I've always enjoyed it. So yeah, I think that's like I forgot what you were asking me. Like, what was the question?
I'm saying, do you think that infused your playing?
Did it influence me? Yeah, I don't know. I always liked, the bass player Tom was really into soul, and I was into soul music as well. At the time, he probably, was kind of more of a student of it than I was. He was always talking about, like, these studio musicians from the 60s, things. I think we always wanted to add a more soulful edge to his music. I don't know in what way, but I think that.
about After Ugly when you guys started Shoutbus together? How did that come about?
Well, we didn't really. We actually, I don't know if the band had broken up when we did that. So this is kind of where this comes together for me. Is like, I just asked Charlie to play on that. We went out to that studio again, and I had these, I don't remember how many it was, 6 or 7 songs that I had written, and I just wanted to see if I could record them. And I asked Charlie to learn the guitar parts and kind of play them, and we practiced with this drummer, Andy, who I'm still friends with, and we went out there and just recorded this. Just, I don't know, it was just something to do, I wanted to try to record these songs I had written, and we ended up starting playing a little bit just because we were having fun with it at first,
Oh, Presidente, make your great cloud walk, concealing your identity. A few more hours. Did you find something you regret?
Did you write them on guitar, or how did you write them on bass?
Yeah, at that time for sure. Yeah, and it was just basic punk-ish stuff. We were really into the Minutemen, where we played some riffs that sound a lot like the Minutemen.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say Shoutbus reminds me a ton of the Minutemen.
We blatantly ripped them off a lot of times. It was like the first thing I'd ever tried to do on my own. So.
Well, you could do worse for ripping somebody off, but I don't think that you guys sound like a Minutemen ripoff by any means. I think
that was a big bonding thing between Charlie and I, as we liked this band. Tried to find things that were unusual like that. I mean, I liked punk rock a little more than Charlie did, but the Minutemen were a really unique thing, and he and I were fans and bonded over that quite a lot in the beginning of our friendship.
What was what's the song that stands out from that one to you from those recordings from Shoutbus?
It's so hard for me to listen to that stuff now. I find it kind of painful to go back and listen to a lot of that music. I mean, I wrote a couple of songs I thought were okay. They weren't mind-blowing or anything. But, if I had to play something for somebody, I'd probably play. There's a song on there called "Minimum Wage" that I liked. We did not a bunch, but we did a few little, we did a 7-inch and a record. Our last songs we recorded just for laughs, and I put them on a CDR. Some of my favorite songs are those. I feel like we evolved a bit as a band before we kind of fell apart. So. a lot of those songs are songs a lot of people didn't hear.
Where did you play? Where did you guys play out? Where were your shows?
It was, there were a lot of places that had punk shows back then. We played wherever. There was some really great punk bands from Virginia back then, and we used to play at. There was just always some shithole that would try having a punk show once in a while. There were very few regular ones. There was one in Arlington. I can't recall what it was called, but it was like an Irish pub type of thing that would have a once-a-month show. I can't remember what that was called. And then, who else used to do it? There was a place up on U Street. I can't remember what it was called, but they used to have a lot of punk shows. Sometimes the Black Cat would. Yeah, we played the Black Cat a few times. And it was in the old building.
Coming from DC, is that I don't know? Was that an exciting thing for you? Was that a point of pride
to play the Black Cat?
Yeah.
Not really, because the thing about the Shoutbus shows is there was never anybody there. So very few people would come to see that band. So,
Well,
the joke was always we could have had this many people over and just not had to drag all this shit over there. That was kind of the Shoutbus coat of arms. It's just like, why don't just these few people come to your house and watch us practice, and we'll do that.
People say the same thing about the Ramones at CBGB.
People still say that about us. So I'm just saying. It was fun. I don't know. I feel like I'm making it out to be a drag. It was fun. It was an exciting time, and we had a lot of friends and bands, punk bands. We used to like to go see. For a little while there were just a lot of people that were, young people that hung out with each other.
What were some of your other favorite, like Virginia or DC bands?
Oh yeah, there was some crazy. Well, it was the Goons. I like the Goons a lot.
I love the Goons.
Yeah, they're all friends.
I never got a chance to see them though.
There was something called. There was a demo I really liked called Bubble something. I can't remember what it was.
Bubble Jug?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember liking that a lot. I don't remember anything about that band, but I like them a lot.
I hope to interview Barney.
Oh yeah.
From Bubble Jug.
What did he do?
At some point soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear that. I feel like I saved a lot of those demos, but I have a lot of boxes of things.
Well, you worked at Record Convergence. You're the person that had the most access.
Yeah.
to all of that stuff.
Yeah. The problem is it's all probably hanging around here somewhere, but I can't find it. I'd like to hear that tape again.
Well, if you can go digging for some of it, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. If I find anything interesting, I'll let you know. I wish I could think of some more. I don't know, like the I don't know, that was a little later, but there was the whole Torque thing. Like there was the Suspects and the Goons played with them a lot. Positive State, that was in the band. Bands used to play at Convergence. That was all going on around the same time. So I guess Convergence is another place you could play. Play a show.
I don't even remember bands playing there.
Yeah, there were some. They would play sometimes. They'd have shows once in a while. Smash had shows every once in a great while. It was hard to do there because it was so small.
Yeah, tiny. I can't even imagine somebody playing there unless they were like a 2-man or something.
Yeah, well, they did. It happened.
Well, I think that's there are a couple of themes from this show that emerge, and particularly in terms of the Northern Virginia scene, the fact that there just weren't enough places to play You know,
from what I remember, what would happen is like some restaurant or some bar or some space would agree to let them try this, and then, you know, just not be that into it. It was usually young people that showed up, and you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't remember the shows being out of control. But, you know, I'm sure for somebody running a restaurant, they probably didn't want to deal with loads of people hanging around all night and not, you know, I don't remember if people drank that much or people probably drinking in the parking lot instead of drinking, you know, and loud music and potential graffiti. I don't know. I don't know. But I mean, you know, the places would open. There weren't, like what you're saying is there weren't a lot of places. Yeah, there weren't a lot of established places where you could play, like you're talking about, right? Like maybe
particularly an underage set, you know, and have underage people go there.
Yeah,
and then
Galaxy Hut maybe was like the only established place where you could play a small band, and if nobody showed up, it didn't matter. And that was the problem at the Black Hat, is once people didn't show up, you just kind of didn't play there again, you know. So, and it's, you know, it's a different thing, you know. It's hard.
Well, you got to play there too, right?
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, you know, what you were saying was there were a few places to play. I agree with that. I think that it was hard to keep a regular thing going so bands could keep playing a lot.
Well, not only that, but there also weren't like rehearsal spaces. Like out here in LA, there are rehearsal spaces.
Oh yeah.
You know, all over.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, there was not an industry for rehearsal spaces. Yeah, you had to practice, you know, at somebody's mom's house. I mean, that's where Shoutbus practiced. Somebody's mom, at Andy's mom's house. He was young. That was another funny thing about him, was he was like 16 when I asked him to play on that tape. His parents I actually met his parents, so, you know, I could explain to them why I wanted to hang out with a kid in high school.
And he was the drummer?
Yeah, he was the drummer. I mean, Andy and I are still friends, but, you know, he's of course older as well now, so it's not as suspicious. At the time, I thought it was strange, but now when I look back, I think his parents probably had the right, you know, I don't know, I'm probably about 10 years older than him, so, like, you know, a 26-year-old guy comes to pick your son up, you might, you know, have some questions about that, you know, so.
Yeah.
You know, looking back, I get it, but at the time, I thought that was strange. What did they want? He was like, I don't know, they just said they wanted to meet you or whatever, so I was like, all right, you know.
But if the kid's got a kid and he can play, and, you know, there's a place to play over at his house.
Oh, yeah, no, well, I mean, then after that.
Pretty appealing.
Yeah, well, after that, we became friends, and then, you know, his mom kind of understood what was going on, and we used to practice in her basement. She didn't care. But, you know, it was, we really made the tape before we practiced regularly. That tape was just, you guys think you can play these songs, you know, kind of on the fly. Maybe we rehearsed a couple of times and then, you know, went and recorded them.
I was listening to it, and I love the insurance card one, and there were several of them that I just thought were great.
Yeah, that album has a couple of good songs on it.
I'm telling you, I think it's aged really well. I think you need to bust that out and listen to it.
That's where I feel like you're wrong. The problem with it is I don't feel like it aged well. I feel like it sounds like something from that time period. I'm not to argue with you, but that's my issue. I'll probably do it differently now, but of course we all do everything differently now.
Well, I don't know. I think it's got energy, and it you know, it's punky, but it's not, you can't like pigeonhole it as punk rock. The same way that, you know, I feel like the Minutemen have aged really well too, because
it's great stuff.
You know, because they're just good songs, and it doesn't fit into any specific genre.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I like. I mean, I like that about Ugly too. It's like there are a lot of different bands from Virginia, you know, and there are a lot of great punk bands and a lot of great hardcore bands, you know, but there's a lot of stuff that kind of starts to sound the same too, and it's when people are doing something like that sounds totally different, but you know, but you can still hear those influences, and you can hear how it kind of like fits in with the rest of the area.
Yeah.
Like I love that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's some good bands and some good people for sure. So, I don't, you know, it's you know, there are aspects of that I miss, but then there are aspects of it I try to, you know, just evolve with. You know,
Well,
try
you
to still enjoy music in that capacity.
You continue to play and record. I mean, you have a band called It's Alive.
Yeah,
did I get that right?
You did, yeah, that's correct. I like that it's grammatically just awkward to say. I think that's a good sign.
I know. I wanted to say the name right. It's very. It sounds there as much as Shoutbus sounds like the Minutemen. The It's Alive sounds like the Misfits to me.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't. You know, we're just trying to play just kind of straightforward punk. I mean, it's just for fun these days, you know. So just find friends to put projects together with.
Dude, again, you could do a lot worse than to sound like the Misfits.
Yeah, the Misfits were great.
And there's certainly like a lot of people that still, you know, listen to the Misfits and crave music that sounds like that. I mean, I guess I'm just saying that more lyrically than anything else. It reminds me of the Misfits, but.
Oh yeah, I could see that. I'm probably into some of the same things that they are, you know, horror movies and that kind of thing. Being silly.
Yeah, you just did a horror movie or hosted a horror movie at the Black Cat like yesterday, right?
Yeah, we've been doing like a horror movie night, like you know, just screening favorite films that we like, that type of thing.
Who's we?
That's just my friends. My friends and I who just, you know, we go and watch them backstage. It's fun. They got a good sound system.
How do you just put that on at the Black Cat? Like, how does that, you know, you and your friends just have access to putting on whatever movies you want at the Black Cat?
No, I mean, it's just some, you know, it's like, you know, they're open to a lot of different kind of events. So we just suggested, you know, we might get people to come and, you know, just kind of watch horror movies in the back, you know, like the back bar area, you know, so they let you do something crazy like that on a slow night, I guess.
Have there been any horror movies soundtracks that you can either recommend or that you think influenced you?
Like musically, yeah, I've never played much instrumental music like that, but I like horror movie soundtracks. You know, I like John Carpenter. I went to see him recently play. That was cool.
Oh, I didn't know that he does concerts.
Yeah, he plays his themes for horror movies. You know, as a band. That's kind of fun to see.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, you know, the movie we played the other night was called Session 9. You could try that one out. It's kind of a whodunit sort of horror thing. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, that sounds cool. Who directed that?
Brad Anderson. He's kind of I guess the movie's from 2001, so it's not that new anymore. But you know, he was kind of an upcoming horror director at that time. It's a good movie. We don't actually these screenings are not like what do you call it? You sometimes don't say what we're screening because they're not authorized. We just
not exactly legal.
Yeah, it's not really legal. But I mean it's also just for like, you know, kind of like a film club. It's not like we charge money or anything. We just go and do it. You know, bring candy and popcorn and stuff.
It sounds cool. I mean,
yeah,
if I was in the DC area still,
yeah.
I would go.
They have a real big sound system, so it's fun. You know, you can really turn it up and
yeah,
get into it.
So your book, the League, it's set out here in or just outside of Los Angeles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Was that something that you had like personal experience with? Did you come out here for any time, or have you always kind of stayed pretty close to the DMV?
No, I think part of that was I went back to school late at the University of Arizona, so a lot of I thought I made the city up. Like I don't know why I made it a California city, but it was sort of supposed to be about my experience going to Tucson. I lived in Tucson for like 5 years.
Have you always been a writer?
I mean, that's what I studied. I've always tried to. I feel like when I started trying to write music, it was Charlie actually on a personal level was very inspiring to me because I tried to get bands together. I hadn't had a lot of luck with that. And, I just sort of played in his band, and I always wanted to be more creative. So, he helped me make that first Shoutbus tape, and that was something I did for a long time. And then, I kind of started while Shoutbus was going on, trying to write stories and things like that. And I did a lot of writing before I went back to school for it, and now I pursue it regularly. I'm not making a living out of the course, but that's what my ambition is to just keep getting better as a writer. And, I send out articles and short stories and things like that. But I went to Tucson to learn how to write, and I mean, I just wrote that book is about, various times in my life kind of glued together, in a weird timeline.
I'm in awe of anybody that can finish a novel.
I tried. That's something I wanted to do. Initially, it's kind of funny when I think back. I initially kind of thought maybe I was going to write my first book about band experiences, but I think at the time I just got kind of inundated with too many band narratives, so I decided to change it to sumo wrestling instead. More interesting to do research for that.
I'm only about 15% of the way in, so I haven't gotten to the sumo wrestling even yet.
Okay. Oh well, sorry, I ruined the surprise.
Spoiler. I mean, it's on the cover, so I think I figured it out somewhat.
I'm really interested. Sumo wrestling is interesting to me. It's such a unique sport.
Did in your research, did you try it out?
Oh no, I've never got anywhere like that with it. It's a very closed shop. I mean, they do something like sumo wrestling in Las Vegas now, but it's a hard. You know, they take it very seriously. You don't go for anything that seems like you're fooling around or anything.
Well,
it's a hard life. I had no idea. Those guys put up with a lot. You know,
I mean, you can get into karate or something like that, you know, or so you would think
sumo
like
wrestling is centuries old, you know. Like
somebody would be willing to teach people the art of sumo wrestling, especially if they think that somebody, you know, maybe shows some promise. Large guy with some agility.
Yeah, no, it's nothing like that. Like childhood, you belong to them until you quit. It's like you know, I don't know what. I mean, we don't have that much dedication to anything in America, you know. Like that. It's a centuries-old tradition over there, you know. Like, and they're actually losing interest. Kids don't want to do it anymore. They want to play baseball. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I love playing baseball, so I don't find that weird. But I think you know, I think it would have been interesting to try sumo wrestling.
Well,
I
never
had any desire to wrestle though or anything in high school, like you know, actual wrestling.
I didn't either. I have a lot of people I know for some reason are into, like, you know, professional wrestling. So, you know, there's a lot of small wrestling clubs and things like that. I mean, that's what I kind of tried to base the sumo idea on, the idea that people get together and do things like that, you know, same way they do bands or whatever, some weird hobbies.
I just never would have been able to get beyond the, like, you know, loincloth.
Yeah.
Like, outfit thing. It was the same thing. I used to do swim team in the summers, and you know, once I got to a certain age, I was way too self-conscious to put the Speedo on anymore, and just, you know, had to quit swim team because God forbid anybody, you know, see me in my underwear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in that way, I can relate to the Martin character too.
Good. I enjoyed writing that. I hope.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going on the rest of the journey with him. I'm sorry I wasn't able to actually finish it before I got a chance to talk to you.
That's all right. You know, I don't know. It seems like you wanted to talk about, you know, Charlie or Ugly or whatever more. I feel like I didn't.
No, I'm interested in, you know, musicians and music from Northern Virginia, and like the creative people that grew up around there and that were there, and were part of like the fabric of the community during that time and continuing on till now. And you're certainly one of those people.
You know, D.C. is a very transient area. You get people from all states and all countries, and, you know, you get a lot of influence. I think D.C. is a good, or, you know, and Northern Virginia, Maryland, you know, that kind of 495 area. You used to get a lot of, I mean, you still do get kids that are interested in different kinds of music. And I think that's one of the things that makes this area special, you know, artistically, where you know, it's not, this area doesn't seem to support the arts very well, but it does bring all these people together that have different ideas about it, so interesting things can happen here. I've always appreciated this area for that.
Well, you also seem to be somebody that lives as like a, you know, kind of a true artist. You also have your Cramhole zine too, which you're a visual artist also.
Yeah.
And you don't seem to let, you know, any kind of formalism or any of that stop you from just being creative and doing it. The thing that I think is coolest about the DC art scene is more the do-it-yourself nature of it, and the fact that people have always, that I know from the area, if they wanted to do something, they just did it.
Yeah, right.
You know, they made it happen one way or another, and that's something that you've done.
I try to, yeah. Like, I mean, I think it's important, you know, that's an important lesson, and I feel like DC had a lot to do with teaching that, you know, to me and to the world. Maybe, you know, that's not too broad a statement. Is, you know, you just can't wait around for somebody to tell you you're good enough to do something. You know, I appreciate that about a lot of the people around DC. You know, it's just a matter of you know, just get out there and try. What else you got to do, you know? Well, thank you for thinking of me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you so much for letting me interview you and talking to me and sharing your art with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And on a personal note, just like thank you for the music. I've been listening to it and loving it for years. And you were a part of it.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you.